Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the American dream, specifically the version that involves a white picket fence, a mortgage that doesn't make you weep, and the audacity of owning a home while black. Now you might be thinking, isn't that legal? Like totally legal? And you'd be right. It is in fact legal for black Americans to buy homes anywhere in the United States, technically. But let's be honest, just because something is legal doesn't mean it's easy or even remotely fair. From predatory lending practices to skyrocketing insurance rates, the path to black homeownership is littered with obstacles. So, buckle up buttercups, because we're about to take a road trip through the 10 states where the American dream of homeownership feels more like a nightmare for black families. First up, we find ourselves in Mississippi, a state with a complicated history. Despite a large black population, Mississippi has one of the lowest black homeownership rates. Black applicants face higher mortgage denial rates and insurance premiums. Add in a severe racial wage gap, and it's a recipe for disaster. Mississippi, it's time to reflect on black homeownership. Next, we head on over to Louisiana, the land of jazz, gumbo, and a little thing called Hurricane Katrina. Katrina didn't just flood homes, it drowned black homeownership. Generational wealth was washed away, and aid was often delayed or denied. Flood zones and predatory insurance hikes hit black homeowners hardest. Louisiana, it's time to make homeownership a reality for all your residents. Now, let's dribble on over to Indiana, a state best known for basketball and, well, not much else. You'd think that in the 21st century something as blatantly racist as redlining would be a relic of the past, right? Well, in Indiana it seems redlining is alive and well. Take Indianapolis, for example. The black homeownership rate there sits at a measly 35%, while white homeownership is nearly double that, at almost 70%. Homes in predominantly black neighborhoods are often appraised for significantly less than comparable homes in white neighborhoods. It's almost like the value of a home is somehow tied to the color of the homeowner's skin, which is not only absurd, but also incredibly illegal. And if that weren't enough, investors and landlords are swooping in like vultures, buying up affordable housing options and pricing out black families who are just trying to get a foot in the door. So, Indiana, while you're busy celebrating your basketball legends, maybe take a time out to address the systemic racism that's still sidelining black homeownership in your state. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to enter Missouri, a state that might as well be the unofficial capital of racist home appraisals. In Missouri, black homeowners are reporting that their homes are being appraised for tens of thousands of dollars less than identical homes owned by white people. It's almost like the appraisers are looking at the house through some kind of racist Instagram filter that automatically devalues anything associated with blackness. And if that weren't enough, mortgage discrimination is alive and well in Missouri. We're talking higher interest rates, stricter loan terms, and a general sense that black borrowers are being treated like risky investments, even when they have stellar credit histories. And to top it all off, gentrification is running rampant in Missouri's cities, pushing out longtime black residents and replacing them with, well, you know who. It's enough to make you wonder if Missouri's state motto should be changed to the show me your money but only if you're white state. Come on, Missouri, get your act together. You're better than this, or at least you should be. Hold on to your Cornhuskers because we're headed to Nebraska, a state that often flies under the radar when it comes to, well, pretty much everything. It's got a small but mighty black population, and yet, even here, the barriers to homeownership are as high as the price of corn after a drought. Nebraska's history of systemic exclusion has created a real estate environment where black buyers are often left without a strong support system. There are fewer black real estate agents, fewer black-owned banks, and a general lack of culturally specific home buying assistance. And as if that weren't enough, gentrification is rearing its ugly head in Omaha, pricing out black families who have called the city home for generations. So, Nebraska, while you're busy celebrating your agricultural prowess, maybe take some time to address the fact that the American dream of homeownership is feeling more like a pipe dream for many of your black residents. Next up, we're braving the wilds of South Dakota, a state known for its majestic landscapes. But for black residents, homeownership barriers loom large, twice as likely to be rejected for mortgages and facing racial disparities in appraisals. It's like the system is rigged. Predatory taxes and undervaluations add insult to injury. Hold on to your parkas, folks, because we're venturing into North Dakota, a state better known for its frigid winters than its racial diversity. With a black population under 10%, black homeownership is practically non-existent. Less than 10%, the lowest in the country. It's a vicious cycle, leaving black residents out in the cold. Let's mosey on over to Iowa, the Hawkeye state, where the corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and the barriers to black homeownership are even higher. Black homeownership in Iowa sits at a shameful 23%, nearly half the national average. Iowa, it's time to turn those fields of frustration into fields of opportunity for everyone. Pack your warmest winter coat and your most passive-aggressive smile because we're headed to Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes and an even greater number of microaggressions. Minnesota loves to tout its progressive values and its Minnesota nice reputation. But scratch beneath the surface and you'll find that Minnesota's niceness doesn't quite extend to black homeownership. In fact, Minnesota has the unfortunate distinction of having the worst black-white homeownership gap in the entire nation. And if you're wondering how such a seemingly progressive state could be so far behind on racial equity, well, it all comes down to one word: history. See, Minnesota's past is littered with racist housing policies that continue to cast a long shadow on the present. Neighborhoods that were once redlined decades ago are still struggling, and black homes in Minneapolis are consistently appraised for less than comparable white-owned homes. It's almost like the ghost of segregation is haunting Minnesota's housing market, whispering sweet nothings of inequality into the ears of appraisers and lenders. And last, but certainly not least, we arrive in Wisconsin, a state that's famous for its cheese, its beer, and, unfortunately, its abysmal track record on black homeownership. That's right, folks. Wisconsin holds the dubious honor of having the worst black homeownership rate in the entire United States. Milwaukee, Wisconsin's largest city, paints a particularly bleak picture, with a black homeownership rate of just 27% compared to a whopping 68% for white residents. But how did Wisconsin become the poster child for black homeownership failure? Well, as with many of the states on this list, it all boils down to a toxic cocktail of historical injustices and present-day discrimination. Redlining practices from the 1930s continue to impact black home values today, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of disinvestment and devaluation. And if that weren't enough, black applicants in Wisconsin are a staggering 2.3 times more likely to be denied a mortgage than their white counterparts, even when they have similar financial profiles. It's enough to make you wonder if Wisconsin's lenders are lactose intolerant to the idea of black homeownership. Well, folks, there you have it. 10 states where the American dream of homeownership feels more like a distant fantasy for many black families. These aren't just statistics. They're people's lives, generations of stolen wealth and shattered dreams. We can do better. We must do better. Banks and mortgage lenders need to be held accountable. Real estate policies need a serious overhaul. Invest in black-owned financial institutions and community programs. Share your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button and subscribe for more. The conversation doesn't end here. Let's keep pushing for a more just and equitable future.